Hi guys, altcoins slowing down. So the question is, what should I be doing next? And we've been saying for a while now, there is a Bitcoin correction incoming. So off the back of that, let's quickly have a look at the charts. Real quick. So when we look at Bitcoin on the weekly time frame, what I'm basically seeing is that at this stage, with what's happening there, there's actually on the higher time frame, no reason or no cause for concern just yet. Why? Because remember, big moves happen on the weekly time frame. So when Bitcoin created its bottom, it was on the weekly time frame. So we need to be patient. This was a weekly time frame low that created this trend that we've got. So by definition, we would want to see a weekly time frame reversal pattern of some sort before we can really start saying lower lows. So to answer the question that I actually saw from Crypto Buddy, 31K, 25K, the reality is before we can even start looking at those areas, the weekly needs to catch up for that. Okay, so that being said, let's quickly head over to the daily time frame, because the daily has been flashing some bearish signals for a while now as we've been marking them out. So what have we had now? So on the daily time frame for Bitcoin, we've got strong bearish divergence that's been printing for a while now. Now, strong bearish divergence, as you know, is a reversal divergence. So it means that price makes a higher high, the RSI goes in the opposite direction. So the simplest and easiest way to just visually show this to you guys is by going to the line tool. So you can see there that the divergences is making, that the RSI at the bottom of the screen is making lower highs, and that price at the top of the screen for Bitcoin is making higher highs. And typically what I do in order to really start taking this divergence serious is that I'm waiting for price when it makes that higher high to actually start trading below the formation or the first pivot. Meaning every time price pivots on the RSI, it pivots in a direction. That is when we need to start taking it seriously. So I'm looking at it like this is support. Although there's divergence, thank you, I don't care until we start trading below this. And it suits you well. Now remember, for every rule, there's an exception to the rule. So you just need to understand technical analysis about managing risk and looking for the most probable trade. You're never going to get a 100% success rate with anything. That being said, looking at where we are now, we've made yet another higher high with yet another lower or double top on the RSI. So it's lending itself to the basis that we've either got yet another strong bearish divergence with a higher high and a lower low on the RSI, or we've got weak bearish divergence, which means higher high and a double top within the RSI or slower. Now, these are all reversal divergences, so just take note of that. Okay, now if we take this information and we say to ourselves, we've been sitting on our hands with our FOMO monkey on the shoulder saying, alt season, buy. And I've been saying to myself, don't listen to the monkey, wait for the retrace, So this is potentially the signals that we would want to see to start waiting for the reversal. Remember now, daily time frame. So the dip's not going to happen in 5 minutes and it's going to be over. It's going to play out over a week or two. So that's when we're going to start getting in our next buy as such. So now if we want to take this into a swing perspective, we try and look for the 4-hour time frame just to see whether that is going to happen today, how probable it is, what is going to be our next day, what can we expect until next time I'm on YouTube again. So if we do that, we need to go look at the 4-hour time frame. And when we look at the 4-hour time frame, what you will find is that the 4-hour versus the RSI, I'm going to go back to the line tool, had its divergence way back. There it was already. And from that point onwards, what did we do? We did sell below that initial pivot. So you take the divergence serious. But from that point onwards, on price basis, let's just mark that out with a line and maybe not a pink line. Maybe I should just use the proper support line in orange. And if you mark that, basically it comes to the original rule. Okay, you back in the range. Where do you be? You bullish at the bottom of the range, and you bearish at the top of the range until proven elsewise. Okay, so there we had our initial divergence. It played out. So not all our divergences is necessarily going to play out and then engulf what was made. It can be that that just signals the end of a wave. So that's why it's very important to consistently take a look at what's happening when you look at these divergences. Now, what did we do? We pivoted around these areas, and then we broke out, and then we made a high, deleting the 4-hour divergence. So from a 4-hour point of view, this thing is still trending upwards. So to take this message back to the daily, the reality is that this weekly or week daily bearish divergence, and I'm just going to mark it out for you guys so you can see this week daily time frame bearish divergence could potentially still get challenged. And that is what the 4-hour is telling me. So for the short term, the next day or so, maybe then the rest of the week, we can still have that challenge. Now, supporting that is your alts, because if you look at your weekly time frame, we've nearly only now had our first little break, where people are saying, am I being responsible buying? That's all that it is. And one blue candle is going to take that out of their mind. They're going to want to buy again. So, and looking at the alts, and most of them still have a little bit more room. They don't have the higher time frame bearish signals like I've been pointing out to you. So this brings me to another question, and I got this from a comment from yesterday's video where I was saying, is alt season is locked in? And I was thinking about altcoins that I want to share that's going to explode. And the question is from Rotation FSX, and he asked, Rudo, question, with big liquidity hunt wicks like last week, you always mention that wicks get filled on a pump. Does that hold true for the downside in your opinion? So to answer that, I'm going to go back to the 4-hour question because it's really relevant to where we are at the moment. And so to answer that, if we look at the 4-hour time frame, and I'm just going to switch back the candles, I want to highlight those specific wicks. So when you have a crazy wick like this, and I'm going to take away the RSI, I would say wicks like those get filled. Best example was this tweet there when we had these crazy wicks, and I was pointing out to them, just like that wick got filled with price action, this wick, this is now Bitcoin in 28K, this wick is also going to get filled by price action. And what supports this is the following. When I look at the time frame, a 4-hour time frame, when we have that wick close, that candle close, so the end of that move, if price stays above that area, that usually signals that the momentum that generated that big push is going to continue onwards. So there you've got a big wick, but immediately thereafter, price is trading below this. So that is normally when I start looking at this scenario where I say, okay, 50% of the wick, that's your reversal. So let's back test this. There's another wick, okay? Wick like those get filled. So what happens is after the candle closes, price stays above it. Okay, so now you expect more moves. There was another wick there, but price didn't stay above it. So on that smaller time frame, there might have been some changes or some small different nuances. Now, let me show you some of these nuances. Let's have a look at XRP. So yesterday, news came out with the potential that BlackRock is going to create a spot ETF for XRP. And it created a FOMO pump in XRP, and it immediately shot up 11% or so. And then from that point on, BlackRock confirmed, guys, this is bullshit, it's not us. The thing sold back down. So wicks like those, are they going to get filled? So in this scenario, you can see that after the wick has been created, price is already trading below this. So for me, that instance is a scenario where if you really want to capitalize on people's loss there, that would be the most probable next trade for me with XRP. Now, you can have a look at a lot of versions of price. There's another crazy wick. Wicks like those get filled, but what happened immediately after, price was trading above it. So your best bet now is not to trade in the direction of the wick, but to trade in the opposite direction. 50% of that wick, price is going to move to the upside. Now, if this hits an aha moment for you, and it's something that you can say, oh shit, I never thought of it this way, give me a like. And for everybody else watching on my Twitter feed, head over to YouTube, because now there's a lot more. We need to look at the alts. We need to look at a few more buy zones, and we need to look at some retrace areas. So yeah, this and a lot more in just a few secs. Do your hodl bags a favor and subscribe today. Double down, hit that like and notification icon, and let's get charting. Righto, guys. So let's get into this now. So this was the news from XRP yesterday, and that basically shot everything up. So this is not a news-related channel. Technical analysis, we tend to trade out of the news, but there's warning days. So let's just quickly look at the warning days. Today, the CPI figures are going to get released. Now, the CPI is the inflation problem. So sticky inflation means that the rates are going to keep on getting raised. But Jerome Powell has made it blatantly clear to us over the last year or so that although the CPI is something they look at, the majority of their decisions are based on the PPI, the production inflation. So CPI is to the consumer, the inflation of the end consumer when you buy something in a supermarket. But the PPI is that product's inflation on the manufacturing side of the market. Okay. And why they do that for a simple reason is to try and see whether the economy is strong enough for manufacturers to pass on the increases of price onto the consumer or not. Because remember, if the manufacturer feels like the consumer isn't strong enough, the demand isn't strong enough, what they will do is they will incorporate or absorb the cost of that. And that's a more earlier indication of a potential future trend reversal. Whereas if they're confident and they just pass that on to the consumer. So these two figures play a role. And the way that they're going to look at these two figures is basically going to set the tone for the coming week within the legacy markets. Now, let's just take note real quick. Let's have a look at the legacy markets. I just need to load my price list. Let's see, I didn't load it. So if you look at the Dixie, this then means at this stage, with the current trend being where it is, that the Dixie broke into a lateral range of strong bullish divergence. And if I were to move to a line tool, you can see the divergence within the RSI and price. And what did we do? We fell below that level and we kept it as resistance. So if I were to mark that out, you can see how the Dixie and price kept that level as resistance. So the trend is changing. The character of the trend was changing. So what did it do? It fell out of the lateral range, which means that there's a potential downwards trend, which is what I've been saying is going to be really good for our Bitcoin and our altcoins and for the stock market and so forth. And we had a bit of a fight back where the Dixie was trying to claw back. Subsequently, it's back out of this range. So is the trend there? Is there anything we need to worry? Now, that being said, if we take this information just over to the stock market side of things, you can see that there's more upside on the daily timeframes. But if we look at the 4-hour timeframes, the stock markets are showing, like the US 30, showing that there's signs of divergence entering the market now. So just like Bitcoin, I mean, a few weeks ago, or not a few weeks, a week ago on the daily time frame, started giving us this bearish divergence, but kept on chopping sideways. It means that the stock market, the legacy markets, are moving into that same sense of uncertainty, and that they're going to also wait and see what the figures show, what decisions are going to be making before the fundamental traders are going to start reacting on the news. So divergence doesn't mean that it's over. It means that there's going to be some sort of a fact check. There's going to be a sentiment check. Let's maybe use that as a better word. Just going to make sure I'm still bullish. That's it. So we're all going to see what the market does and what everybody else decides on, whether we go higher and sing kumbaya or whether this then sells down. That is up for debate going further. Now, get to the altcoins. Let's quickly go to your comments again. I see there's a lot of questions around highlighted out, so I'm going to try and read them through as I go through everything else that I wanted to share with you guys. Today, however, after YouTube, there's not going to be a Discord after party, guys. So just take note of that. So I also said this, and this is basically why setting the tone for what I want to show with you guys with the alts. We're looking at Bitcoin for a while now. This is Bitcoin weekly time frame. When it was at 58 or 59K, it had a severe retrace. So now this is the significance of support and resistance, basically, just to explain to you guys. There it was too expensive. It's resistance. People aren't sure that they should be buying there. And there it was cheap up until the point it failed at 30,500. But people here, they were sure that they need to buy it, and there they were uncertain, and price fell down and way cheaper, supply won. So we had that same psychological point coming into everybody's brains when we went to 30K the first time. Is this maybe not too expensive? And there was a reluctance in buying. And now that we've broken through it, I basically explained to you guys, it opens the door between 30,500 and 58 again, which means this is our playground. We can play within this range, but for the same reason that price retests when it moves into a bracket, it's safe to assume that there's going to be a retest of this move. And this sets the tone for the alts. This is why we're looking at the alts. So now let's move over to the alts real quick. So what were we saying? And maybe before I do that, let's hit the pause button. Let's slow down on Woosah and let's quickly read through your comments, because I'm curious to see what you guys are saying. Okay, so this is from Dominique. A lot of altcoins corrected back to 1% of their peak value in 2021. Ethereum did a 3x its peak at 2017. Can we think that the cycle major alts can also do a 3x from the last cycle peak? Well, Dominic, this is actually a really fair question. So let's quickly have a look at Ethereum in that context. So this is going to be Ethereum on the weekly time frame. So if you look at this from a big point of view, this is now your 2017 peak that you were referring to. And you said that Ethereum basically did from there to there a higher high. Now, most alts would probably do the same again this time round. But while that happened, Ethereum innovated like a mother. Okay. Crazy innovation was built on Ethereum, layer 2 scaling solutions, and that's all those innovations that create additional value, which means although think of Ethereum as a company was overvalued at that stage, once common sense came back into Ethereum at around $152, the company kept on developing, more innovation got created. And that builds the base for marketing. That is what creates influencers content. Ethereum, this is new. This is a new project launching on Ethereum, and that drives the new hype bubble. Okay. Now let's quickly have a look at XRP for that in that same time frame. So XRP, now this one's not going to give me the data, so I'm going to have to just go to an XRP before Binance. So I'm going to have to go for an XRP on Coinbase, or maybe an XRP on Bitstamp or Bittrex. Bittrex should have it further back. Okay, now let's look at XRP. Now I want to ask you the question, and this is where you're going to have to take the projects that you have and put them in the same perspective. XRP had its launch. It was supposed to revolutionize banking. The deals were swift. The news of every new bank it's partnering with, and that threw an insane amount of fuel on the fire. So it got overvalued in the same way as Ethereum did. But now, while it went through its crypto winter in 2018, 19, and so forth, did the new innovation create a bigger hype bubble? In XRP's case, no. Now, yes, there was the SEC court cases and so forth and so forth. And all these things play a fundamental role. So the long and the short answer is, you might have a scenario if we go over to DOT, which has now had its first big cycle. Remember, DOT was kind of created within this bear winter. And then once the bull market came out, it had an insane marketing run. The parachains was this brand new idea of having layer ones communicate with each other, bridging the problem that we have with layer ones and being able to take information from this blockchain to another blockchain and having all these parachain auctions and a hype bubble. Now, the big question that we have now is, will what has been built on DOT now, will what is being built on DOT now generate the bigger or equal hype bubble? And that answer nobody can give you, because that's the part where we're going to have to take it as it goes. That's the thing. I mean, for the biggest time now, Solana didn't really look like there was much, but now they brought in this new scaling tool that's going to make this thing the fastest layer one again and basically solves a lot. So now all of a sudden, Solana conference came. There's so many new developers who are running to Solana because this is apparently the place to be. So is this one set for a high bubble? Is this one set for potential Ethereum killer? And yes. So the odds between Solana at this date with the information we have now has the potential to do that. So I would say if I were to bet on Solana versus, say, let's say DOT, let's say even Cardano for that matter, I would say that Solana has got a better chance of going high due to the hype. And you need to take the hype into consideration that this is not a fair valuation of whatever you're buying, because it's not locked in sustainable value. That was a fair valuation, and this is now a fair valuation. That's what's the difference between an uptrend, a downtrend, and sideways. Sideways, we confirm that that's a fair valuation. Okay, so if you think about this now, and you take this information, you take this over to, say, let's look, where's Cardano? Okay, Cardano, that was a fair valuation. Hype cycle, fair valuation. So that's where it is. Is there going to be another hype cycle that takes it past $3? Was it going to fail this time at $1.08? I don't know. Okay. It all depends on whatever news is going to come out and how powerful the hype behind that is going to be. Okay. I think that answers that question for you very nicely. Let's quickly see what else we have from Coffee Dude. Today's CPI report would be beautiful excuse for another pump. Yes, it would be, buddy. It would be a really good excuse for another pump. But that is why I'm saying to myself, if I look at Bitcoin from a 4-hour time frame, looking at this, what do we have? Let's apply the rules. Let's not take your opinion in mind, and let's not take my opinion in mind. From a 4-hour point of view, we had divergence. It sold and held a lateral range, broke up, and it's moving back up. So where we are now, what do we have? Let's do this real quick, and let's make this big. What do we have? We have divergence. Okay. We've broken back into our range, and the question is, are we going to leave the range or are we going to hold the range? This is literally on a knife edge at the moment. So if I switch back the candles, the question is this a fight back that we're experiencing now? Come on, give me the drawing tool. Thank you. Is that a fight back, or is that going to fail down? And that is what the news is going to try and amplify. So if this gets back in that range or gets pushed in that range, and it's going to go with favorable CPI data, maybe it's already there. Let's quickly refresh Forex Factory and see if they've maybe dropped it. Nothing just yet. That's just going to give people an excuse to be reckless again, which means it's not like people are standing around with their fingers ready to buy. But once that momentum's going to come in, the reckless people out there is going to say, I want to get in on this, and they might buy it higher. And we might have another scenario where price is going to try and sweep highs. But for now, what happened? We had a wick. We fell below the wick. 50% of that wick, continuation down. Simple as that. And that's the trend. So if you're in the short, it's a good area to take some profit because of the technical analysis. But where we are now, the rule is simple, guys. Very simple. Be bullish at the bottom. Okay, so you have to think of that. And that's what makes trading hard, whereas fundamental and just buying and holding simple. Because if you buy and hold, all that it's saying to you now is wait for more, because Cardano on the daily, although a retrace is imminent, the weekly is not giving me any signal that the trend is going to go down. The trend is sideways, which means from a retail point of view and from a hodl point of view, all that I need to do is if this thing doesn't link now, expect that it's going to come back down to around 30 cents and potentially then want to link. Okay. Let's quickly, Stefan, Bitcoin Cash chart. should I, guys, let me know, should I look at Bitcoin Cash today? Let me know in the comments. The amount of likes would potentially say, I don't have anybody to tell me how many likes are there going to be. There's about 80 viewers live, and I know you're not all on the same time frame. So just let me know. Let's see the amount of likes. Got about half of that already. Bitcoin Cash is maybe I promised that I probably won't be able to pass on that. And I see there's more Bitcoin Cashes, and I saw Crypto Man Ra also asked STX yesterday. So let's see. Stefan says no, Dave, 50 likes. Thanks, Dave. Thanks for the update on the likes. Okay, so let me quickly go through the alt content. There's 26 minutes. We're already in too long, and then I'm going to try and work in STX and Bitcoin Cash for you guys. So maybe let's go on Bitcoin Cash. Now, what did I like about Bitcoin Cash? Why did I say that there's something big there? So if I take Bitcoin Cash and I start flipping into smaller time frames, why I liked it was because of this. Okay, now I've just explained to you guys the significance of the Big Wick. So what do we want to do? We want to wait for that, because when you have demand like this, that's sitting there, okay, Big Wick, prices above it. In that instance, price stayed above it, so you expect more. In this instance, price is falling above the closing, trading above the closing price immediately. So you expect a test, but then you expect a reversal. Okay, there you expect a continuation. There you expect a reversal. That's the Bitcoin Cash for you. Now, let's say 224. Let's have that line there real quick. Okay. So you guys now are going to have and work out your own buy zones and everything on that information. Let's go back to the weekly time frame and zoom out. Okay. Say that holds at 225 area. What is it going to do next? Okay. What if it does a higher high to create strong bearish divergence for the trend to fill this gap? That's what I'm looking for. And look at the way Bitcoin Cash tends to work. Tends to do this, fall back down, make the higher high with the divergence, come back down. It has a way of doing these insane 2-day, 3-day pumps. So if that's the way it tends to work, what if this does exactly the same? What if that then is the buy of the week? A Bitcoin Cash does exactly like Solana did in that scenario. Goes and makes that higher high. Now I will even venture further and just add a little bit of momentum to this. Bottom to top. I'm just going to apply some Gann numbers. Potential for this is there all the way up to about 450. So what if that 229 gives you this? Another 100%. If you leverage that, you're going to be smiling. Okay, guys. So that's the Bitcoin Cash. More than that, I cannot divulge. Let's continue on. I wanna do STX. I'll do STX. I promised I'll do STX. So let's do STX. Okay. So STX. What do we have? Higher time frame, we're on the bullish side of things, okay? But we've got wicks. We've got wicks. We fell below the wicks. 50%. So price is already trying to get you that target there. So STX, that's where I think it's going to try and go to. Test that supply that's sitting in there, 80. So where are we at? 62, 63. So it's a nice 30% there. What do we have here? We've got wicks as well, but we're staying above it. So it's telling us that wicks like these are trying to get filled, but it's going to be choppy as hell. So can I go long here? On this time frame with what is there? No. But remember, that's where you guys are going to dive into smaller time frames. Now, you've got that same wick, okay? We are falling below that. We closed above it. So what do we expect? The best case scenario above this is we've already closed above it. So it's not telling me that it's continuation momentum. It's literally almost there. It's literally there, okay? You want to hide your stop below this ranges. And if Bitcoin plays ball, now guys, there's a lot of ifs and buts here. But if Bitcoin plays ball, this could be a really good trade. Take you from there to there. Simple as that. Okay, guys, that's all I have time for today. I see there's Matix and I'm used to it. I'm going to say thanks for each and every one of you guys dropping in. Remember, today's video is sponsored by Prime XBT. In the video description, open your account, come trade with me. Come trade, leverage with me. I have to warn you that in the last 2 days, Bitcoin has been handing my ass. I am human after all. I trade for a living at home, but I do make mistakes and I do get stopped up. There's failure rates and exceptions to all the rules. I want to say thanks to each and every one of you guys for joining in. Share the content with a friend. Let's grow the community while we're at it. And as always, guys, keep hustling, and I will see you again tomorrow. Not tomorrow, Thursday.